Welcome back, guys, to the myth of illusions. Now, today we're going to be talking about narcissists and are they actually like capable of real and genuine love? To find out, let's get stuck in. The simple answer is no. Narcissists cannot love. This psychologically inaccurate and it oversimplifies a complex clinical reality. The evidence suggests a more precise formulation. Narcissists have profoundly limited and conditionally constrained capacity for love, which differs fundamentally from how psychologically healthier individuals experience it. Understanding this distinction requires examining neurobiology, attachment theory, and the critical spectrum between narcissistic traits and narcissistic personality disorder, also known as NPD. The empathy love connection, where the deficit lies. Now, the scientific foundation for narcissists' impact on love centers on empathy. A comprehensive meta-analysis across over 100 studies involving 31,630 participants found significant negative correlations between narcissistic traits and empathy components, particularly affective empathy. This distinction between cognitive and affective empathy is crucial. Narcissists often retain the intellectual ability to understand what others feel, cognitive empathy, while lacking capacity to emotionally resonate with those feelings, affective empathy. Neuroimaging studies reveal structural abnormalities in the anterior insula, a brain region critical for emotional empathy and self-awareness integration. During emotional processing tasks, individuals with narcissistic traits show reduced deactivations of the right anterior insula, suggesting constant self-focused attention that inhabits genuine emotional resonance with others. This is not a conscious choice to be courteous. It appears to be a neurobiological constraint. Yet, this neurobiological limitation does not render narcissistic incapable of all feelings. Clinical observation and self-report data consistently show that narcissists experience attachment, longing, and sometimes genuine affection. But the internal architecture determines how those feelings manifest in relationships. The critical distinction: narcissistic traits versus narcissistic personality disorder. Now, this discussion must account for one of the most significant clinical nuances often missed in popular discourse: subclinical narcissism, narcissistic traits without full diagnostic criteria, and clinical NPD exist on vastly different spectrums. A person with narcissistic traits may be self-absorbed, exploit others opportunistically, and struggle with empathy, yet retain intact reality testing, a reasonably integrated sense of self, and the capacity for object constancy, maintaining a consistent emotional view of a person despite their imperfections. By contrast, those meeting full MPD diagnostic criteria exhibit pervasive pathology across multiple life domains, a fragmented self concept, difficulty distinguishing fantasy from reality, and chronic emptiness and severe deficits in object constancy. The gap between these two presentations is not a matter of degree but of fundamental psychological organization. This distinction has direct implications for love capacity. Subclinical narcissists may develop stable, albeit somewhat self enhancing, relationships over time. Those with clinical NPD face far steeper relational obstacles. The conditional architecture for narcissistic love. Clinical research and expert consensus reveal that narcissists can experience love, but it operates under specific conditions. New York psychologist Dr. Greg Kushnak, who treats both narcissists and their partners, notes there is a true cap on the amount narcissists can love another person. This cap is determined by the narcissist's ability to receive what researchers call narcissistic supply: admiration, attention, validation, and control. No, I just missed. This mechanism works as follows. A narcissist can feel love momentarily when their partner provides the supply, and when their partner's independent needs do not threaten the narcissistic's need for control or superiority. The moment a partner disappoints, which all partners eventually do, the narcissist's love becomes conditional. The partner is idealized while meeting expectation, then devalued when they reveal imperfections. I mean, partners can't, I mean, you might as well narcissist date robots, actually. I think that's the perfect solution. Is I think that's why like people created like humanoids specifically for narcissists, actually. That's just my opinion. But anyway, this pattern reflects a fundamental deficit in what therapists call object constancy, the ability to maintain an emotionally coherent view of another person as simultaneously flawed or lovable. Children develop this capacity in healthy relationships. Narcissists typically do not, remaining psychologically stuck in a binary worldview where people and situations are all good or all bad. What research shows about relationship trajectories? Longitudinal data from newlywed couples reveal a pattern consistent with the conditional love hypothesis. Wives scoring higher on narcissism measures predictable, significantly greater declines in marital satisfaction and increases in relationship problems over time. The chocolate cake model of narcissistic relationships applies here. Narcissists often create a strong initial impression through charm, confidence, and energy, but their relationships deteriorate more rapidly than typical relationships do. This temporal pattern is critical. Narcissists are often initially attractive partners precisely because they project confidence and provide excitement. But as the relationship deepens and demands for more reciprocal care intensify, their empathy deficits and need for control becomes unattainable. The role of severity, history, and therapy. Several factors modulate a narcissist's capacity for love. Firstly, severity matters enormously. Narcissists with more fragile, unstable self esteem engage in constant relational testing, demanding reassurance of love, reacting with rage to perceived slights, creating a dynamic where the partner becomes a mirror rather than an autonomous person. Conversely, narcissists with more stable self esteem show greater relational stability. Second, attachment history shapes outcomes. Those with dismissive, avoidant attachment styles approach love with emotional distance and control. Those with anxious, preoccupied attachment swing between craving and pushing away closeness. A therapeutic correction, such as developing secure attachments with a therapist, can sometimes catalyze genuine relational growth. Thirdly, commitment to therapy, targeting shame, self concept, and affective empathy can improve relational capacity, though such improvement requires sustained willingness and honest introspection. I'm not sure that will go down well, but anyway, mentalization based therapy, schema therapy, and trauma focused approaches have shown promise in helping narcissistic individuals recognize how others experience their separate from equally valid to their own. Critically, love alone cannot precipitate this change. A romantic partner cannot love a narcissist into transformation. Only a narcissist's own choice to engage in difficult psychological work enables meaningful progress. Meaningful progress, not meaningful transformation. Just a side note. The parental context, a particularly stark case. When examining whether narcissists can love their children, the evidence becomes darker. So, narcissist, narcissistic parents lack the empathic capacity to prioritize their children's developmental needs as separate from their own. The affection towards children is typically contingent on whether the child's boosts the parent's self-image or provides admiration they failed to receive as children themselves. This is not love, but a self-serving investment or mechanisms in trying to boost up their own fragile ego. The psychological mechanisms is clear. Love requires seeing another person's needs as nearly as important as one's own. Narcissistic personality organization fundamentally opposes this reorientation. The parent cannot simultaneously maintain narcissistic regulation and authentic parental love. Expect consensus and clinical implications. The clinical and research communities increasingly converge on this formulation. Narcissists are not incapable of love, but their capacity is profoundly constrained and fundamentally different from reciprocal love. Their love is transactional, ATM machine, transactional, conditional on supply, and easily reversed when circumstances shift or when partners assert independence. One clinical and extensive experience treating narcissistic individuals observed that some patients showed measurable improvements in relational capacity after focused therapeutic work on shame and self-concept. Another noted that narcissists with a comorbid conditions, antisocial traits, borderline pathology, substance abuse, show even more severely compromised relational capacity and worse prognosis. The consensus also acknowledges that victims of narcissistic abuse often struggle to accept the narcissistic experience feeling is quite real to them. When they feel love, they are not consciously lying, but their love operates within such constrained parameters, so dependent on their needs being met, so fragile when challenged, so easily weaponized that it fundamentally differs from mature and reciprocal love. If you like today's video, please do like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, goodbye.